in Italian, the language is different. The dialect can be completely different. The way you phrase something, for example, there is a word here, boccaccio, means jar. A jar that, you know, when you're making preserves or something, you put it in the boccaccio. People in Milan never heard of a word like that. You say boccaccio, they don't know what you're talking about. And in English, in American English, it's not quite so disparate. It's not quite so different. But what I try to do is I try to pay attention, especially when I'm talking about the things that bring up the Jewish traditions from the past. Food preparation, food serving, the way food is eaten, and then life cycle events. When babies are born, when children receive a special blessing when they're 12 and 13 years old, marriage, funerals, mourning customs, those things. I look for the way people express themselves to see if I'm hearing any Hebrew, see if I'm getting any Hebrew, or if I'm hearing an Italian word used in an odd way. For example, the word for anti-Semitism in Calabria is not antisemitismo, it's odio, which means hate. Very, very interesting. Very interesting that word would have survived, that the word anti-Semitic, antisemitismo, which is a relatively new construct, a new concept in modern language, is described by mountain people using the word odio, hate.
Are there other hidden Jewish traditions that are found, things that people do in Calabria that come out and are expressed with also words or language? You said something about fabrics, about mixing cotton and silk. Does this have a linguistic side to it?
Yes, it does. As a matter of fact, we'll talk about the word vancale, V-A-N-C-A-L-E, vancale. Now, think of a stole or a wrap that a woman will wear on a cool evening with the fringes at the end, on each end. And there is a small mountain town not far from where I'm speaking to you from, here in Serrastretta, called Tiriolo. And Tiriolo is one of the most ancient mountain towns and has one of the oldest Jewish traditions, a Judeca, a Jewish zone that is one of the oldest here in the Reventino. Reventino is the collection of mountain villages here where I live. And one would say, if you were going to put a wrap on, like I described, a sciarpe, you would say a scarf. However, in Tiriolo, there are special scarves that are made with stripes, always with a thread of blue, and the fabrics are not mixed. In other words, a cotton sciarpe, a cotton wrap is completely cotton. A silk one is completely silk. A wool is completely wool, and they are not ever to be mixed. Well, I noticed this, and I noticed the shop, and I began to speak to the woman who has been carrying on with a hand loom this tradition from her great-grandmother. Probably goes back even further. Her name is Mirella Leon, which happens to be also an Italian surname with Jewish roots. And I asked her about these sciarpe. She said, no, Rabbina, ci sono vancale. These are vancale. And I couldn't figure out why vancale, but my little dictionary here helps me out. And when I look inside and I look for vancale, I see once again a foreign word, and it has to do with the embrace of God. So obviously there is a tie between this particular scarf with the discrete fibers and always a thread of blue, regardless of what color you're making, and fringes on each end, longer fringes on the corner, on each of the four corners, and this is probably a vestige of the Jewish talit.
Wow, incredible.
But someone like you, Carl, because I was thinking about the word meal in Hebrew is what?
You could say arucha.
Yeah, tell me something.
Arucha would be a meal.
Sedura?
Food would be mazon, is food. We have that. I'm trying to think what misada is a restaurant. What are you looking for? What?
Well, I was looking for something with that S sound. Misada comes to mind. I'm glad that you said that, because there is a word for meal that I'm trying to kind of figure it out. It means a festive meal when a girl turns 12 years old. Now, that may be, and that may have something to do with bar and bat mitzvah. I'm not sure, but there is. It's
you're looking for a word with S?
With an S, yes. And I'm trying to think.
On Shabbat, your afternoon meal is Seudah Shlishit, the third meal. Seudah would be a meal also.
Seudah, yes, Seudah. Now, the word that's cropping up for me here in the mountains is Sedua, and I'm wondering if there's some kind of a tie. But that word is only used for a party. And it is for women.
Seder Pesach? The Passover Seder is in effect a feast.
Yes,
it's also an organized meal, so it might come from that.
Interesting about Passover that you mentioned that, because here people use the phrase La Pascua dei Ebrei, the Easter of the Jews, and it's as though. Because of course Easter in a very observant Catholic country, as Italy was more so years ago, was a way of saying that you're celebrating a holiday, which in Italy is no holiday, but you're celebrating it as a Jew.